Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English in Advance. I am your host, Jessica, and I am so happy that you are here with me today. Do you ever feel like you know the grammar rules and you have a good vocabulary, but when you try to speak about your daily life, the words just do not come out smoothly? Maybe you feel like you are translating in your head from your native language to English before you speak. That is completely normal, and today we are going to fix that together. We are going to move away from textbook English and start using the kind of English that real people use every single day. The goal of this episode is to help you sound more natural and more fluent when talking about your daily routine. We are going to look at how native speakers describe their mornings, their afternoons, and their evenings, and we are going to practice using phrasal verbs and collocations that will instantly make your English sound more advanced. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let us dive into your daily English routine. Let us start with the morning. This is usually the busiest part of the day for most of us, and it is full of small actions that we do automatically. When you are learning English, you might say, I wake up and I stand up and I eat breakfast, but native speakers rarely use that simple, repetitive structure. We like to mix things up with phrasal verbs to describe how we start our day. Instead of just saying, I wake up, try saying I wake up or I get up. Did you hear the difference there? To wake up is the moment your eyes open and you become conscious, but to get up is the physical action of leaving your bed. So you might say, I usually wake up around 7, but I do not get up until 7:30 because I love to lie in bed for a few minutes and check my phone. This is a very natural way to describe that lazy feeling in the morning. Now, once you are out of bed, what is the very first thing you do? Many of us need to wake up our brains. You might say that you need to wake up properly, or you need to come to life. I often say that I am not a morning person, meaning I do not have much energy in the early hours. To fix this, I usually stumble to the kitchen. To stumble means to walk almost unsteadily because you are still tired. I stumble to the kitchen to make a fresh pot of coffee. I honestly do not think I could function without my morning coffee. It is an essential part of my routine. What about you? Do you drink coffee or tea in the morning? Maybe you prefer a glass of water to start your day. Using specific vocabulary like stumble instead of just walk, or function instead of work, adds color to your story. After you have your drink, it is time to get ready. This phrase, get ready, is perfect for B1 and B2 learners because it covers everything you do to prepare for the day. When I get ready, I head to the bathroom. To head to is a great phrasal verb that simply means to go in the direction of. It sounds more active than just saying, I go. In the bathroom, I wash my face and brush my teeth. Some people like to hop in the shower, which is a very idiomatic way to say to enter the shower quickly. I usually take a quick shower to save time. If I am in a rush, I might say I jump in the shower. These small phrasal verbs like hop and jump make your speech sound much more dynamic and native-like. While I am in the shower, I might be thinking about my day ahead. It is common to mentally prepare a to-do list. A to-do list is a list of tasks you need to complete. I often find myself humming a tune or just enjoying the hot water because it helps me wake up. Once I'm out of the shower, I get dressed. This is another common phrasal verb. We do not usually say, I dress myself. We simply say, I get dressed. If it is a cold day, I have to wrap up warm, wearing a sweater and a coat. If it is summer, I might throw on a t-shirt and shorts. To throw on is a fantastic expression that means to put clothes on quickly and casually. For example, I just threw on a jacket before running out the door. Notice how natural that sounds? It implies speed and a lack of worry about fashion. Let us talk a little bit about breakfast. We have all heard the saying that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but do you always eat it? I try to have a healthy breakfast, but sometimes I just grab a bite. To grab a bite means to eat something quickly because you are busy. I might grab an apple or a banana. Other days, especially on weekends, I like to whip up a big breakfast. To whip up means to prepare food quickly and easily. You could say, I whipped up some scrambled eggs and toast. This sounds much more impressive than just saying, I cooked eggs. If I am running late, I might just say I will grab something on the go. On the go is a great idiom that means while you are moving from one place to another. So I grabbed a coffee on the go. Once you are fed and dressed, it is time to leave the house. Here is where we have a lot of specific verbs. Do you drive to work or school? Do you take the bus? Maybe you walk? I usually take the subway or the train, which we often call the tube or the metro, depending on where you are. During my commute, which is the journey from home to work, I like to listen to podcasts or read a book. It is the perfect time to squeeze in some English practice. To squeeze in means to find time for something, even though you have a busy schedule. For example, I try to squeeze in 10 minutes of vocabulary review during my commute. Now let us move on to the afternoon. This is the part of the day where we are usually working or studying. When you talk about your work, try to avoid saying, I do my work. Instead, use words like focus, concentrate, or tackle. To tackle a task means to deal with it with energy and determination. I usually start my work by checking my emails. I like to clear my inbox first thing. Then, I might have a meeting with my colleagues. In a meeting, you might brainstorm ideas, which means to think of new ideas creatively. You might also discuss deadlines, which are the dates by which a task must be finished. Lunchtime is a great opportunity to socialize. Do you eat at your desk, or do you go out with coworkers? I usually pack my own lunch to save money, but on Fridays, my colleagues and I like to eat out. To eat out means to go to a restaurant. We usually catch up over lunch. To catch up is a lovely phrasal verb that means to talk to someone you have not seen for a while to find out what is new in their life. So you might say, we went to a nice cafe and caught up on all the office gossip. It makes the interaction sound friendly and personal. In the middle of the afternoon, around 3 o'clock, many people experience what we call the afternoon slump. This is when you feel tired and lose energy. When this happens, I usually need a pick-me-up. A pick-me-up is something that gives you renewed energy, like a sweet snack or another cup of coffee. I might take a short break to stretch my legs. This is a great idiom that means to stand up and walk around a little bit after sitting for a long time. It helps you get back to work with a fresh mind. After the work or study day is over, it is time to unwind. Unwind is perhaps the best word to describe the evening. It means to relax after a period of hard work or stress. When I get home, the first thing I do is take off my work clothes and put on something comfortable, like pajamas or sweatpants. It instantly helps me switch off from work mode. To switch off is another great phrasal verb, meaning to stop thinking about work or problems. It is really important for your mental health to switch off in the evenings. Then there is the matter of dinner. Some people love to cook elaborate meals in the evening, while others prefer something simple. I enjoy cooking, so I often chop vegetables and prepare a fresh meal. If I am exhausted, I might just order takeout. Takeout is food you buy from a restaurant to eat at home. We also call this takeaway. It is convenient when you do not have the energy to cook. While I am eating, I might binge watch a new series on Netflix. To binge watch means to watch many episodes of a TV show in a row. It is a very popular modern habit. I might also just scroll through social media on my phone. Before going to bed, I like to wind down. Winding down is different from unwinding. Unwinding is the general process of relaxing, while winding down is the specific routine you do to prepare your body for sleep. This includes activities like brushing your teeth, washing your face, and perhaps reading a few pages of a book. I try to avoid looking at screens right before bed because the light can keep you awake. Instead, I like to listen to soft music or an audiobook. Finally, I set my alarm, turn off the lights, and drift off. To drift off is a beautiful way to say to fall asleep. It implies a gentle and slow transition into sleep, like a boat drifting on the water. Now that we have walked through a whole day, I want to give you a challenge to practice speaking. I am going to describe a specific part of my day, and I want you to try to describe the same part of your day using the new words and phrases we have discussed. For example, listen to this. My morning routine is quite chaotic. I usually wake up 5 minutes before my alarm goes off, so I have to rush to get ready. I jump in the shower, throw on the first clothes I see, and grab a coffee on the go. I barely have time to say goodbye to my family. Did you catch those phrasal verbs? Rush, get ready, jump in, throw on, grab. Now pause the audio for a moment and try to describe your morning routine. Think about the verbs you use. Do you stumble or jump? Do you whip up breakfast or grab a bite? Speak out loud to yourself. It does not matter if you make mistakes. The important thing is that you are training your mouth to move in a new way. Let us try another one. Think about your evening. How do you unwind? Here's my example. In the evening, I like to completely switch off from work. I cook a nice dinner while listening to my favorite playlist. Then I eat on the sofa and binge watch a drama. After that, I take a hot bath to help me unwind before drifting off to sleep. Did you notice how I used switch off, unwind, binge watch, and drift off? These are high-level phrases that show fluency. Now it is your turn. Pause again and tell me about your evening. What do you do to relax? Do you have a specific ritual before bed? Try to use at least one new expression. I also want to talk about something called time collocations. These are small words that go with specific times of the day to make you sound more native. For example, we do not usually say in the night. We say at night. We say in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. However, if we use the word tomorrow, yesterday, or today, we drop the in. So we say tomorrow morning, yesterday afternoon, and last night. Paying attention to these small prepositions can really polish your grammar. Instead of saying, I will see you in the afternoon, just say, I will see you this afternoon. It sounds much more natural. Another great tip is to use vague language when you do not need to be specific. Native speakers rarely give exact times for every activity. We use words like around, roughly, about, or nearly. Instead of saying, I wake up at 6:45, say I wake up around 7. Instead of saying I start work at 9 o'clock exactly, say I head to work around 9. It makes you sound less robotic. You can also use sequencing words to connect your ideas smoothly. Words like firstly, then, next, after that, and finally. but be careful not to use them in every sentence. You can also use more conversational connectors like as soon as, once I have finished, or the moment I get home. For example, as soon as I get home, I feed my cat. This flows much better than saying first I go home, then I feed my cat. Let us practice a bit more with a scenario. Imagine you are meeting a new friend for coffee and they ask about your typical day. How would you respond? You would not just list tasks. You would tell a story. You might say, well, generally speaking, I am a bit of a night owl, so I start my days quite slowly. I usually drag myself out of bed around 8, make a strong coffee, and spend some time reading the news. I like to take my time in the morning. Then I head to the gym for a workout. It really wakes me up. After that, I go to the office. My job can be pretty stressful, so I make sure to take a proper lunch break to clear my head. In the evenings, I usually meet up with friends or just chill at home. I try to get to bed by midnight, but sometimes I get caught up in a good book and stay up way too late. Did you hear all those natural expressions? Night owl, drag myself out of bed, take my time, wakes me up, clear my head, chill, get caught up, stay up way too late. This is the language of fluency. I want you to focus on the word chill or chill out. This is very common slang for relaxing. You might say, I am just chilling tonight. It is casual but very useful in social situations. Another great word is hang out. Instead of saying, I spend time with friends, say I like to hang out with my friends on weekends. It is much more conversational. So try to swap formal words for these casual phrasal verbs whenever you are speaking to friends or family. We should also look at some frequency adverbs because they are essential when talking about routines. Words like always, usually, often, sometimes, and hardly ever. But where do you put them in the sentence? Usually, they go before the main verb. I usually wake up at 7. I often go for a run. However, if you are using the verb to be, the adverb goes after it. I am always happy in the morning. I am never late for work. Getting this right makes a big difference. Also, try using expressions like every now and then, once in a while, or most of the time. For example, I go to the cinema every now and then. This sounds much more sophisticated than just saying, sometimes. Let us do a quick listening check. I am going to say a sentence, and I want you to think about whether it sounds natural or robotic, and why. Ready? I wake at 6. I eat toast. I leave house at 8. I work. I come home. I sleep. That sounds very robotic, right? It is just a list of simple present tense verbs. Now compare it to this. I usually get up at 6 and quickly throw on some clothes. After grabbing a piece of toast, I head out the door around 8 to catch the bus. My days are usually pretty busy, but I try to come home early to relax. Finally, I hit the hay around 11. To hit the hay is a fun idiom that means to go to bed. Can you hear the difference? The second version flows like a river. It has variety, rhythm, and personality. Now, I want to talk about something that might be a bit confusing, but is very useful for advanced speakers. This is the difference between used to do and I am used to doing. When talking about routines in the past, we say I used to wake up early, meaning it was a habit in the past, but not anymore. But if you want to say something is normal for you now, you say I am used to waking up early. Notice the ing form. For example, when I first started drinking coffee, I hated the taste, but now I am used to it. Or, I am used to working long hours. This is a great structure to show your adaptability. Imagine you are explaining a change in your routine. You could say, I used to drive to work, but now I am used to taking the train because it is less stressful. This shows that you can handle different tenses and complex grammar structures comfortably. Practice this by thinking of something you did in the past that you do not do anymore. I used to play video games all night, but now I am used to getting a good night's sleep. Try making your own sentence with this pattern. Let us return to the topic of household chores, because these are a big part of our daily routines. Instead of saying, "I clean my room," try saying, "I tidy up my room." To tidy up sounds lighter and less intense than clean. If you have a lot of things to clean, you might say you have to do some cleaning up around the house. We also say, "I need to do the laundry," or "I need to do the dishes." If you put the dishes away, you mean you put them back in the cupboard. If you wash the dishes, you clean them. Another common chore is taking out the trash or rubbish. We also say, "I need to run the vacuum," or simply vacuum the floor. These collocations are very specific. We do not say, "pass the vacuum," or "make the vacuum." We say, "run the vacuum," or "hoover," depending on where you are from. How do you feel about chores? Do you try to get them out of the way early? To get something out of the way means to do it quickly, so you do not have to worry about it later. I usually try to get the chores out of the way on Saturday morning so I can relax for the rest of the weekend. Or perhaps you procrastinate. To procrastinate means to delay doing something because you do not want to do it. I admit I often procrastinate when it comes to ironing. I hate ironing. I usually put it off until I have absolutely no clothes left. To put something off is another great phrasal verb for procrastination. Do you put things off, or are you the type of person who tackles everything immediately? We have covered a lot of ground today, from waking up and stumbling to the kitchen, to tackling work tasks, grabbing lunch, unwinding in the evening, and finally drifting off to sleep. I hope you can see that describing your daily routine does not have to be boring. It is actually a fantastic opportunity to use a wide range of vocabulary and phrasal verbs. The key to fluency is not knowing every single word in the dictionary, but knowing how to use the common words in natural combinations. Before we finish, I want to give you a final exercise to do when you stop listening. I want you to record yourself on your phone. Yes, just use the voice recorder. Talk for 2 minutes about your perfect day. Not your actual day, but a perfect day where you have no stress and you can do whatever you want. Use the words we learned today. Describe how you would wake up, what you would eat, who you would hang out with, and how you would wind down at night. Using your imagination makes it easier to speak because you are not trying to remember facts. You are just telling a story. After you record it, listen to it. Check for pauses and repetition. Then record it again, trying to make it smoother. This is the best way to practice because you can hear your own progress. Hello again and welcome back to English in Advance. I am Jessica, ready to continue our journey toward natural fluency. In our last conversation, we walked through the basics of a daily routine, focusing on those essential phrasal verbs for waking up, getting ready, and winding down. Today, I want to take this a step further. We are going to zoom in on the specific details that make a story come alive. We are going to move past the general actions and talk about the textures, the feelings, and the small habits that define who we are. When you speak a foreign language, it is easy to sound like a robot listing tasks. But to truly advance, you need to be able to express your personality and your preferences. So let us dive deeper into the nuances of daily life, exploring how to talk about health, productivity, and those little guilty pleasures we all have. Let us start by revisiting the morning, but this time with a focus on how we feel physically and mentally. As I mentioned before, I am certainly not a morning person. Some people wake up feeling fresh as a daisy, meaning they feel energetic and happy immediately. I am not one of those people. I usually wake up feeling groggy. To feel groggy means you are still tired, a bit confused, and slow. It is that heavy feeling where your eyes do not want to open. On days like that, I need a ritual to help me snap out of it. Snap out of it is a great phrasal verb meaning to quickly stop feeling a certain way, usually sadness or tiredness. For me, a cold shower helps me snap out of the morning drowsiness. It is a shock to the system, but it wakes me up instantly. Another important part of the morning is hydration. I used to just drink coffee, but now I make a conscious effort to drink a large glass of water first thing. To make a conscious effort means you intentionally decide to do something because you know it is good for you. It requires willpower. I find that if I do not hydrate in the morning, I get a headache later in the day. What about your morning routine? Do you have any healthy habits? Maybe you like to stretch or do some yoga. I have a friend who swears by morning meditation. She says it helps her find her center before the chaos of the day begins. To swear by something means to believe strongly that it is effective or good. For example, I swear by herbal tea when I have a sore throat. It is a strong expression of recommendation. Once we are awake and hydrated, we often think about our goals for the day. This is where productivity language comes in. Do you consider yourself a productive person? I try to be, but I have my struggles. I often use a planner. I like to jot down my goals. To jot down means to write something quickly and briefly. I do not write long sentences, just keywords like meeting, email, gym, or groceries. It helps me visualize my day. However, just making a list is not enough. You have to actually tackle the items. I mentioned tackling before, but let us look at a similar word, conquer. Sometimes we have big, scary tasks that we do not want to do. We call them a mountain to climb. I like to eat the frog first. This is a common idiom in English. To eat the frog means to do the most difficult or unpleasant task of the day first, so that the rest of the day feels easier by comparison. For instance, if I have a difficult report to write, I will do that immediately after breakfast. Once the frog is eaten, I feel a sense of accomplishment. I can breathe easier. Speaking of breathing, let us talk about managing stress during the workday or school day. Even if you love what you do, there are moments when the pressure builds up. You might feel overwhelmed. To feel overwhelmed means you feel like you have too much to do and you cannot cope with it. When I feel this way, I have to step back. I need to take a breather. To take a breather is simply to take a short break to rest and recover. I might step away from my computer and go for a short walk. Just 5 minutes of fresh air can do wonders. It helps clear the fog in my brain. This is a great phrase, clear the fog. It means to think more clearly after being confused. It is also important to know how to say no or to delay things. If your boss or colleague gives you too much work, you might need to push back a deadline. To push back means to make a date or time later than originally planned. You could say, "I am afraid I cannot finish this by Friday. Can we push the deadline back to Monday?" It is a professional way of asking for more time. Similarly, if you have too many meetings, you might suggest rescheduling. I often find that my most productive time is in the morning, so I try to block off that time. To block off time means to reserve it in your calendar so no one else can book a meeting with you. I block off 9 to 11 for deep work. Deep work is a popular term now that means focusing on a task without distractions. Let us move on to lunch breaks. This is a topic that everyone relates to. It is the middle of the day and you need fuel. But how do we choose what to eat? We often talk about cravings. A craving is a strong desire to eat a specific type of food. I might have a craving for something salty, like chips, or something sweet, like chocolate. Sometimes I try to behave myself and eat a salad. To behave yourself usually refers to acting good, but we also use it jokingly about food. If you are on a diet and you eat a salad, you are behaving. If you eat a burger, you are being naughty or treating yourself. It is very common to hear people say, "I was good today, I had a salad for lunch, but now I want a cookie." It is a way of justifying the treat. Sometimes I cannot be bothered to make lunch. This is a wonderful expression. To not be bothered means you do not have the energy or willingness to do something. It is not that you cannot do it, you just cannot be bothered. On those days, I might grab a sandwich from a convenience store, or maybe I will skip lunch altogether because I am too busy. To skip a meal means to not eat it. I do not recommend skipping lunch, but we all do it sometimes when we are swamped. To be swamped is another way to say you are extremely busy, almost as if you are drowning in work. I was swamped with meetings all morning, so I completely forgot to eat. After lunch is the danger zone for many people, the afternoon slump. We discussed this briefly, but let us look at more ways to describe that feeling of tiredness. You might say you are fading. Fading means you are slowly losing energy or consciousness. I start fading around 3 o'clock. My eyes get heavy and I struggle to focus. At this point, I usually need a second wind. A second wind is a return of energy after feeling tired. To get a second wind, I might splash some cold water on my face or listen to an upbeat song. However, if the work is boring, I might just find myself zoning out. To zone out means to stop paying attention and stare into space, thinking about nothing. It happens when your brain needs a rest. Have you ever been in a meeting where you zoned out and suddenly realized you missed the last 10 minutes? It is very common. To bring yourself back, you need to re-engage. Once the workday is finally over, the feeling of relief is universal. I often say I breathe a sigh of relief when I turn off my computer. That sound of exhaling deeply represents the stress leaving my body, but the transition from work to home can be tricky. Some people find it hard to switch gears. To switch gears means to change the way you are thinking or doing something. You go from professional mode to personal mode. For me, the commute helps with this. It is a buffer zone. A buffer is something that separates two things. The train ride is my buffer between the office and my home life. I use that time to read or listen to music, which helps me decompress. To decompress is similar to unwind. It literally means to reduce pressure. After a high-pressure day, you need to decompress. When I finally get home, I might change immediately. I find it very hard to relax if I am still wearing my work clothes. I get changed into something cozy. This act is symbolic. It tells my body that the workday is done. Then I usually start thinking about dinner. This is another opportunity for great vocabulary. Do you cook from scratch? To cook from scratch means to cook using raw ingredients, not using pre-made sauces or mixes. It takes time but tastes better. If I am exhausted, I might rely on convenience food. Convenience food is food that is quick and easy to eat, like frozen dinners or instant noodles. It is convenient but not always the healthiest option. Sometimes I just cobble together a meal. To cobble together means to make something quickly using whatever is available. You might cobble together a sandwich using the last bits of bread and cheese in the fridge. It implies a bit of creativity and using leftovers. Let us talk about evening entertainment. After dinner, we want to have fun, right? But the way we describe our hobbies has changed over the years. Instead of saying I watch television, we now say I stream shows. We binge watch, as we discussed. But maybe you prefer gaming. I used to play video games a lot. Now I prefer to curl up with a good book. To curl up means to lie down comfortably, usually with your legs bent under you, often under a blanket. It sounds very warm and safe. I curl up on the sofa with a blanket and a book. It is the perfect way to spend a rainy evening. Socializing is also a big part of the evening. Sometimes friends drop by. To drop by means to visit someone informally and usually without a long warning. It is casual. My neighbor might drop by for a cup of tea. We sit and chat for a while. We might catch up on each other's news. Or, if we have planned something, we might hang out at a bar or a cafe. We might grab a drink. Note that grab a drink can mean an alcoholic drink or just a coffee, depending on the context. Usually, if it is Friday night, grabbing a drink implies alcohol. In that case, we might talk about letting our hair down. To let your hair down is an idiom that means to relax and enjoy yourself freely after being formal or restrained. You might say, I worked hard all week, so tonight I'm going to let my hair down and dance. It is a very vivid expression of freedom. Of course, not every evening is exciting. There are days where we just crash. To crash can mean to fall asleep suddenly, but it also means to sit down and do nothing because you are exhausted. I got home and just crashed on the sofa. I did not move for 2 hours. You might say you are vegging out. To veg out comes from the word vegetable. It means to be inactive, like a vegetable, usually while watching TV. I love to veg out in front of the TV after a long day. There is no shame in it. We all need time to recharge our batteries. This is another very common idiom. You must recharge your batteries to have energy for the next day. If you do not rest, you will burn out. To burn out means to become physically or mentally exhausted due to overwork. It is a serious condition. Now, let us look at the late night hours. This is a time for reflection. I often look back on my day. I might think about what went well and what did not. Did I accomplish my goals? If yes, I feel satisfied. If no, I might feel a bit frustrated. But I try not to be too hard on myself. We always have tomorrow to try again. Sometimes, right before bed, a random thought pops into my head. Maybe I remember something I forgot to do. It can be annoying. We call this a racing mind. If your mind is racing, you cannot stop thinking. To combat this, I do a brain dump. This is a productivity tip. You write down everything on your mind so you do not have to think about it anymore. It helps you clear your mind for sleep. Hygiene before bed is another routine. We do not just say, I wash. We might say, I take off my makeup. I floss my teeth. Dental floss is very important. I apply some moisturizer to keep my skin soft. These small actions are comforting. They signal the end of the day. I also like to set the scene for sleep. I dim the lights. To dim the lights means to make them less bright. Soft lighting helps the brain produce melatonin, the sleep hormone. I also make sure my room is cool. I cannot sleep if it is too hot or stuffy. I need the room to be airy and cool. Finally, we get into bed. I mentioned drifting off, but there are other ways to describe sleep. I might say I was out like a light. This means I fell asleep immediately and deeply. The moment my head hit the pillow, I was out. If I do not sleep well, I might toss and turn all night. To toss and turn means to move around restlessly in bed because you cannot sleep. It is a terrible feeling. I hope you rarely have to toss and turn. The goal is to have a sound sleep, which means a deep and undisturbed sleep. If I sleep well, I wake up feeling refreshed and ready to seize the day. To seize the day is a translation of the Latin phrase carpe diem. It means to make the most of the present moment. I would like to take a moment to give you a listening and speaking challenge based on these new expressions. I am going to tell you a short story about a specific day I had recently, and I want you to listen for the phrases we have just learned. Then I will ask you to repeat a summary back to yourself using those words. Here's my story. Yesterday was a nightmare. I woke up feeling groggy and realized I had snoozed my alarm too many times. I did not have time to eat the frog. I just grabbed my bag and ran to the station. Of course, the train was delayed, so by the time I got to work, I was already swamped. I tried to block off time for my project, but my boss kept calling meetings. I was zoning out by lunchtime. I did not even eat. I just drank coffee. By the evening, I was completely burned out. I did not cook from scratch. I just ordered a pizza and crashed on the sofa. I vegged out watching TV for hours before finally crashing. Did you catch all the idioms? Woke up feeling groggy, eat the frog, swamped, block off time, zoning out, burned out, cook from scratch, crashed, vegged out. Now pause this podcast. I want you to describe a bad day you had recently. Try to use at least 3 of these phrases. Maybe you were swamped with homework. Maybe you zoned out in class. Maybe you crashed on the sofa when you got home. Speak out loud. Describe the drama of the day. It is okay to exaggerate a little bit to make it more fun. This practice will help these words stick in your memory. We should also talk about how to compare routines. In English, we use comparative and superlative adjectives a lot when talking about habits. For example, my morning routine is much more relaxed now than it used to be. I used to be in a rush, but now I take it slow. We can say I am better at managing my time than before. Or Friday evenings are more enjoyable than Monday evenings. We can also use phrases like way more or a lot less. These are informal but very common. I am way more productive in the morning. I have way less energy at night. Using these quantifiers makes your speech sound more natural and conversational. Let us discuss the concept of balance. It is a buzzword right now, but it is important. We talk about work-life balance. This means having enough time for work and enough time for family, hobbies, and rest. If you have a good work-life balance, you are not working all the time. However, some people struggle with this. They are workaholics. A workaholic is someone who is addicted to work. They might say they live to work. Most of us, however, work to live. We work so we can afford to enjoy our lives. Which one are you? I try to work to live, but sometimes I get so absorbed in a project that I forget the time. To get absorbed in something means to be totally focused on it, like being in a bubble. Time flies when you are absorbed. Another aspect of daily life is dealing with technology. Our devices are a huge part of our routine. I check my phone first thing in the morning. I scroll through social media. I check my notifications. Sometimes I have to detox. A digital detox means taking a break from electronic devices. I try to do a digital detox on weekends. I turn off my phone and just enjoy the moment. It is hard at first, but it feels liberating. To do something without distraction is a rare luxury these days. We are so glued to our screens. To be glued to something means you cannot look away. My son is glued to the television on Saturday mornings. I have to peel him away to get him to eat lunch. To peel someone away is a funny way of forcing them to stop doing what they are doing. Let us also look at some vocabulary for household management, which sounds very formal but is actually just about keeping your house in order. We have chores like ironing, vacuuming, and dusting, but we also have tasks like budgeting. I like to keep track of my expenses, to keep track of means to monitor or record. I check my bank account every day. It gives me peace of mind to know where my money is going. On the other hand, some people are impulse buyers. They buy things on the spur of the moment without planning. I am trying to cut back on spending. To cut back means to reduce or do less of something. I need to cut back on coffee and maybe cook at home more often. It is all about finding the right balance between saving and enjoying life. I also want to mention the weather because it affects our daily routines so much. If it is pouring rain, I definitely do not want to go for a run outside. I might stay indoors and do a workout video instead. If it is scorching hot, I might go for a swim in the evening to cool down. We often say the weather is miserable when it is cold and wet, which makes us feel miserable too. But on a bright, sunny day, my mood lifts instantly. I feel like going for a picnic or a long walk. The weather gives us a natural topic of conversation to start a chat with someone. It is a safe icebreaker. Let us try a visualization exercise. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your perfect Tuesday. It is a working day, so you have responsibilities, but everything goes smoothly. Imagine the alarm goes off. You wake up immediately, feeling refreshed. You head to the kitchen and the coffee smells amazing. You drink it slowly while looking out the window. You have enough time to get ready without rushing. Your commute is smooth, no traffic. At work, you finish your tasks efficiently. You have a nice lunch with a colleague. You leave work on time. The evening is yours. You cook a delicious meal and relax. Now open your eyes. I want you to describe this perfect day to a friend or just to yourself. Use the present tense to make it feel like it is happening now. I wake up. I feel. Use words like smoothly, efficiently, relax, delicious. This type of positive visualization is not only good for your English, but also good for your mindset. We should not forget the weekends. While we focused on the work week, the weekend routine is also important. For many, weekends are for sleeping in. To sleep in means to sleep later than usual. I love to sleep in until 9 or 10 on Saturdays. Then I might run some errands. To run errands means to make short trips to do things like going to the bank, the post office, or the grocery store. It sounds mundane, but it is necessary. After running errands, I might meet a friend for brunch. Brunch is a late morning meal that combines breakfast and lunch. It is a social event. We might linger over our coffee. To linger means to stay somewhere longer than necessary because you are enjoying yourself. We linger at the cafe for hours, just talking. It is a luxury we do not have on weekdays. Sunday evenings have a unique feeling. It is often a time of preparation for the week ahead. Some people call this the Sunday blues. This is a feeling of sadness or anxiety that the weekend is over and work is starting tomorrow. To combat the Sunday blues, I like to do something fun. like watch a movie or cook a nice meal. I also like to meal prep. Meal prepping is preparing meals for the week in advance. I might chop vegetables or cook a big pot of chili on Sunday, so I do not have to cook on Monday or Tuesday. It saves me so much time. It is a very smart routine for busy people. As we come to the end of this deep dive into daily routines, I want to emphasize one last thing. Fluency is not about perfection. It is about communication. You do not need to use complex idioms in every sentence, but having them in your toolkit allows you to express exactly how you feel. Whether you are feeling swamped or you want to veg out or you just want to curl up with a book, these words give your English color and emotion. Welcome back to English in Advance. It is wonderful to have you here again. I am your host, Jessica. In our previous sessions, we built a strong foundation for talking about your daily routine, covering everything from the morning rush to the evening relaxation. We have learned how to describe the actions we take and how we feel about them. Today, in this third part of our series, we are going to explore something a bit different but equally important. We are going to look at the disruptions, the surprises, and the emotional side of our days. Because let us be honest, life rarely follows a perfect script. We have bad days, unexpected changes, and moments where we just need to vent. Being able to talk about these situations with confidence is what will truly make you sound like a fluent speaker. So let us talk about what happens when things do not go according to plan. You wake up with the best intentions, but suddenly chaos strikes. Perhaps your alarm does not go off. This is a classic disaster. You might oversleep. To oversleep means to sleep longer than you intended. When you realize this, you jump out of bed in a panic. You are in a rush. You might say, "I am running late." This is the most common phrase for being behind schedule. You might try to rush through your morning routine. To rush through means to do something very quickly because you have little time. You skip breakfast, which we talked about, and you scramble to get your things together. To scramble implies moving in an awkward, hurried way. It creates a very clear image of stress. On your way to work or school, you might hit heavy traffic. To hit traffic means to encounter a traffic jam. You are stuck. You are not moving. You might say, "I am stuck in a jam," or if you take public transport, perhaps your bus is delayed. You look at your watch and realize there is no way you will arrive on time. In this situation, you might have to call your boss or teacher and say, "I am going to be a little late." You might apologize profusely. To apologize profusely means to apologize many times or very sincerely. "I am so sorry, something came up." Something came up is a very handy phrase. It means an unexpected problem or event occurred that you have to deal with. It is a polite way of explaining a delay without giving too many details. Sometimes these disruptions are small annoyances. We call these hiccups. A hiccup is a small problem that interrupts a process. We had a few technical hiccups during the meeting, but we fixed them. It is a nice, non-dramatic word to use. However, sometimes the problem is bigger. You might run out of something important. You run out of gas, you run out of milk, you run out of patience. To run out of something means to use all of it and have none left. It is a frustrating feeling. If you run out of patience, it means you can no longer tolerate the situation. You might snap. To snap at someone means to speak to them suddenly and angrily, usually because you are stressed. "I did not mean to snap at you. I have just had a really long day." Let us talk about technology problems because these are a daily reality for many of us. You might be working on your computer and suddenly it crashes. To crash means to stop working suddenly. Or maybe your internet goes down. You lose connection. We say, my Wi-Fi is down. Or it is acting up. If a machine is acting up, it is not functioning correctly. My printer is acting up again. It is so frustrating. When this happens, you have to troubleshoot. To troubleshoot means to try to find and fix a problem. I spent all afternoon troubleshooting my computer. It is a technical term, but used in everyday life now. And if you cannot fix it, you have to call customer support or IT support. We often joke about being on hold for hours. To be on hold is when you are on the phone waiting to speak to someone. I was on hold for 30 minutes. It drives me crazy. Now, I want to touch on the emotional roller coaster of a busy day. We use many idioms to describe our feelings throughout the day. If you are working very hard, you might say you are snowed under. This means you have too much work to do. I am absolutely snowed under this week. It paints a picture of being buried in snow, unable to move. On the other hand, you might have a day where everything goes right. You feel on top of the world. This means you feel extremely happy and successful. I got the promotion, so I am feeling on top of the world. But sometimes we just feel drained. To feel drained means you have no energy left. The day has sucked the energy out of you. Or you might feel worn out. To wear out means to use until it is tired or damaged. You can be worn out physically or emotionally. My brain is fried. This is a common slang expression. If your brain is fried, you are mentally exhausted and cannot think anymore. I have been studying for 4 hours straight. My brain is totally fried. When you feel like this, it is important to know how to ask for help or communicate your limits. You might say, I need a break, or I am at my wit's end. This is a strong expression. To be at your wit's end means you are so worried or annoyed that you do not know what to do next. The baby won't stop crying. I'm at my wit's end. It shows you have tried everything and nothing works. In these moments, you might want to vent. To vent means to express strong emotion, usually anger or frustration, to someone. Can I vent to you for a second? It is a great way to start a conversation with a friend when you need to let off steam. To let off steam is similar. It means to get rid of strong feelings or energy by doing something active or talking. Let us imagine a scenario where you have a misunderstanding with a friend or colleague. These happen even in your native language. In English, we might say we had a falling out. To have a falling out means to have an argument and stop being friendly for a while. Or perhaps we simply do not see eye to eye. To see eye to eye means to agree. We love each other, but we don't see eye to eye on politics. We agree to disagree. This is a mature way to handle a difference of opinion. You accept that you will not agree, and you move on. Moving on to happier disruptions. Surprise plans. Maybe a friend calls you out of the blue. This means they called you unexpectedly. Hadn't heard from him in years, then he called me out of the blue. They might ask you to hang out spontaneously, on the spur of the moment. We decided to go for a road trip on the spur of the moment. These spontaneous moments are often the most memorable. You might say, let us play it by ear. This is a fantastic idiom. If you play it by ear, you do not make definite plans, but you decide what to do as the situation develops. I don't know if I will be free on Saturday. Let's play it by ear. It shows flexibility. We should also talk about the seasons and how they influence our routine, beyond just the weather. In winter, we often go into hibernation mode. Like a bear, we want to stay inside, stay warm, and eat comfort food. We cozy up. We might spend more time reading or watching movies. In summer, we come out of our shells. To come out of your shell means to become less shy and more outgoing. I used to be shy, but in the summer, I really come out of my shell and go to parties. The days are longer, so we might stay up later. We might go for evening strolls. A stroll is a slow, relaxed walk. It is a lovely word. We took a stroll along the beach. Let us practice some vocabulary related to travel and commuting specifically, as this is a huge part of the daily routine for many. If you drive, you might get stuck in a gridlock. This is a traffic jam where no cars can move. It is very frustrating. You might take a detour. A detour is a different route that you take because the usual road is blocked. We had to take a detour due to construction. Or if you walk, you might cut through a park. To cut through means to take a shortcut through an area. I usually cut through the alley to get to the station. It saves time. If you take the train, you might try to avoid rush hour. Rush hour is the time of day when everyone is traveling to or from work, usually between 7 and 9 in the morning and 5 and 7 in the evening. It is a nightmare. It is absolutely packed. Packed means very crowded. The train was packed like sardines. This is a classic idiom describing people standing very close together. Now, I would like us to look at the language of health and wellness in a bit more detail. We mentioned getting sick, but let us talk about symptoms and remedies. If you feel under the weather, it means you are slightly sick. I am feeling a bit under the weather today, so I am staying home. You might have a scratchy throat. This is when your throat hurts a little. You might have a runny nose. To describe the action of liquid coming from your nose. I took some medicine to relieve the symptoms. If it is more serious, you might call in sick. This means you phone your employer to say you cannot work because you are ill. I have to call in sick tomorrow. Once you are better, you might say you are back on your feet. This means you have recovered from an illness. I am finally back on my feet after that terrible flu. Prevention is also key. We often talk about boosting our immune system. I drink orange juice to boost my immune system. We try to avoid catching a bug. To catch a bug means to get sick, usually with a virus. There is a nasty bug going around the office right now, so you might wash your hands frequently or wear a mask. Let us move on to the social aspects of the evening. We talked about hanging out, but what about hosting? If you invite friends over, you might have a dinner party. You might cook a feast. A feast is a large meal for many people. Or you might just order pizza. It is casual. You might play board games or card games. You might chat until the wee hours. The wee hours means the early hours of the morning, after midnight. We talked until the wee hours of the morning. It implies a fun, late night. Sometimes the evening is about self-care. We touched on this, but let us expand. Self-care is a huge buzzword. It means doing things to take care of your physical and mental health. For some, it is a long bath with bath bombs. For others, it is meditation or yoga. For me, it is reading. It is about taking time for yourself. We often say, I need some me time. This is very informal but very common. I just need some me time to recharge. It means time you spend alone, relaxing. It is important not to feel guilty about needing me time. We all need it. I also want to mention the language of procrastination and productivity again, because it is a daily struggle. We use the internet for work, but we also get distracted. We might say, I went down a rabbit hole. This is a great idiom. If you go down a rabbit hole, You start researching or reading about one thing and then keep clicking links and reading more and more, losing track of time. I went down a Wikipedia rabbit hole about sharks. It happens to everyone, or we might doom scroll. This is a newer term. To doom scroll means to spend an excessive amount of time scrolling through bad news on social media. I caught myself doom scrolling last night, so I put my phone away. Being aware of these habits is the first step to stopping them. Let us do a role-play scenario to help you practice these emotions and situations. Imagine you are talking to a coworker on a Monday morning. They ask, "How was your weekend?" You could say, "Oh, it was a bit of a roller coaster." On Saturday, I planned to go for a hike, but it poured rain, so we canceled. I was pretty bummed out. To be bummed out means to be sad or disappointed. So I stayed in and watched movies instead. But on Sunday, a friend popped over unexpectedly. We went for a drive and ended up at this amazing cafe, so it ended on a high note. Did you catch those phrases? Poured rain, bummed out, stayed in, popped over, ended on a high note. This is a very natural, fluent way to tell a story. It has highs and lows, and it uses specific vocabulary. Now, I want you to try to describe a time when your plans changed. Maybe a flight was canceled. Maybe a friend canceled dinner. Pause for a moment and think about how you would explain this to a friend. Use words like unexpected, had to, changed plans, ended up. For example, we were supposed to go to the concert, but the venue lost power. Can you believe it? We ended up just going to a bar nearby. It was actually really fun. Speaking out loud about past events helps solidify your grammar and vocabulary. Another important aspect of daily life is shopping. Not just grocery shopping, but general errands. You might go to the mall. You might browse. To browse means to look around without necessarily intending to buy anything. I was just browsing in the bookshop. Or you might go window shopping. This is looking at goods in shop windows without going inside to buy. We did some window shopping on the high street. If you do find something you like, you might try it on. You might say, "This fits perfectly," or "It is a bit tight," or "It is too loose." If you decide to buy it, you might pay with cash or card. Or in the modern age, you might tap your card. Contactless payment. I just tap my phone to pay. It is so convenient. Let us talk about the concept of routine versus variety. Some people love routine. They stick to a strict schedule. They are creatures of habit. A creature of habit is someone who likes to do the same things every day. I am a creature of habit. I eat the same breakfast every day. Others crave variety. They like to spice things up. To spice things up means to make something more interesting or exciting. I need to spice up my workout routine. I am getting bored. Which one are you? I used to be a creature of habit, but now I try to embrace change. It keeps life interesting. We also have to deal with household maintenance occasionally. Things break. A light bulb burns out. A faucet leaks. You might need to call a handyman. A handyman is a person skilled at a wide range of repairs, especially around the house. I need to call a handyman to fix the shelf. Or if you are handy yourself, you might try to do it yourself, DIY. I am going to DIY this table. To DIY means do it yourself. It is a verb and a noun. It is a proud moment when you fix something yourself. I managed to fix the leak myself. As we near the end of the day and the end of this episode, let us discuss the concept of reflection and gratitude. Many people keep a journal, a diary where they write down their thoughts. I try to write in my journal every night. It helps me reflect on the day. I might write down 3 things I am grateful for. This is a popular practice to improve mental health. Being grateful helps you focus on the positive. I am grateful for the sunshine, my health, and my family. It is a nice way to end the day on a positive note. Even if the day was tough, there is usually something to be grateful for. Sometimes, just before sleep, we might hear strange noises in the house. It is the wind, or maybe the house settling. To settle, in this context, means to become quiet and stable. The house is settling. But if you hear a bump in the night, it can be scary. You might say, "My heart skipped a beat." This means you were suddenly frightened or surprised. I heard a noise and my heart skipped a beat. But usually, it is nothing. You check, see nothing, and go back to bed. I want to encourage you to keep listening to English every day, even if it is just for 10 minutes while you are commuting or doing dishes. It is called immersion. You are immersing yourself in the language. The more you listen, the more the phrases will stick. You will start dreaming in English. That is a milestone. When you dream in English, you know you are progressing. Let us do one final practice. I am going to give you a sentence with a blank, and I want you to think of the phrase we learned that fits best. Ready? I was so tired today. I felt totally. Did you think of drained or fried? Good one. Next, my friend called me. It was such a surprise. Out of the blue, excellent. Last one, I have so much work. I am. Snowed under, you are getting it. Hello and welcome back to English in Advance. I am Jessica, so happy to have you here with me once again. We have covered a lot of ground in our previous discussions, haven't we? We have talked about waking up, commuting, working, relaxing, and even dealing with the unexpected hiccups life throws our way. Today, in this 4th part of our deep dive into daily English, we are going to explore the social and professional dynamics that happen within those routines. Because a routine is not just about actions like eating or sleeping. It is about the people we interact with, the connections we make, and the professional impressions we leave behind. We are going to learn how to navigate conversations at work, how to chat casually with friends, and how to talk about our relationships and social lives with that natural, fluent flow we are aiming for. Let us start with the workplace environment again, but specifically the interactions. When you arrive at the office or log into your computer, the first thing you usually do is exchange pleasantries. This is a polite phrase for the small talk we make to be social. You might walk into the break room and see a colleague. You would not just say hello and ignore them. You would say, "How is it going?" Or, "How was your weekend?" If it is Monday, everyone is usually talking about what they did. You might say, "Did you get up to anything exciting?" This is a very casual, friendly way to ask about someone's weekend. If they say, "No, just took it easy," you can sympathize. That sounds nice. We all need a rest sometimes. But what if you need to ask a work-related question? There is a polite way to do this without sounding demanding. Instead of saying, "I need the report," try saying, "Do you have a minute to go over something?" Or, "I was wondering if you could help me with this." To go over something means to examine or discuss it in detail. Let us go over the figures together. It shows collaboration. If someone helps you, you should express gratitude. Not just a simple thank you, but something more descriptive. "I really appreciate your help with that. You save me a lot of time." To save someone time is a great compliment. Sometimes, however, we have to deal with disagreements or criticism at work. This is a delicate situation. Maybe your boss gives you feedback That is not entirely positive. Instead of getting defensive, which means protecting yourself, you should try to accept it constructively. You might say, "That is a good point, I will take that on board." To take something on board means to accept a suggestion or piece of advice and use it in the future. It shows you are professional and willing to learn. If you disagree with a colleague, you can do so politely. "I see where you are coming from, but I have a different perspective." To see where someone is coming from means to understand their point of view. It softens the disagreement and makes you sound reasonable. Let us move on to the art of gossiping. Now, gossip can be negative, but in a social context, it often just means sharing news about other people. We might spill the tea. This is modern slang. To spill the tea means to share the latest gossip or scandal. Did you hear? Sarah is spilling the tea about the management meeting. It is a fun, expressive way to say you are telling a juicy story. However, you have to be careful who you trust. If you tell someone a secret and they tell others, you might say they let the cat out of the bag. To let the cat out of the bag means to reveal a secret by mistake. "Oops, I let the cat out of the bag about the surprise party." We also say someone is a blabbermouth if they talk too much about private things. After work, the dynamic changes. You transition from professional mode to casual mode. You might meet up with your pals. A pal is a good friend, or maybe your mates. In British English, mate is very common. "Where are you going, mate?" In American English, we might use buddy or dude. These are informal terms of address. When you are with friends, the conversation flows faster. We interrupt each other more, but it is not rude. It is just the energy of the group. You might say, "No way," or "Shut up," meaning, "Really? That is amazing." Remember, shut up can be an expression of disbelief among friends, not just a command to stop talking. Imagine you are at a restaurant with friends. The waiter comes over. You need to order. The language of ordering food is full of specific phrases. You might ask, "What do you recommend?" Or, "I'm not sure what to get. What is good here?" If you have allergies or dietary restrictions, you need to state them clearly. "I am lactose intolerant, so no cheese, please." Or, "I am vegetarian." When the food comes, you might say, "This looks delicious," or "It smells amazing." If the food is bad, you might complain, but politely. "I am afraid this is a bit cold. Could you warm it up, please?" It is important to be polite but firm. Then comes the bill. In many cultures, splitting the bill is common. In English, we often say, "Let us go Dutch." This means each person pays for their own meal. "Let us go Dutch tonight." Or if someone offers to pay for everyone, they are treating you. My treat. This is my treat tonight. It is a generous gesture. If you ate much more than everyone else, you might offer to chip in extra. To chip in means to contribute money. "I will chip in $10. Let us talk about romance and dating, as this is often a topic of conversation among friends. If you are single, you might be looking for a partner. You might be on the dating apps. You might go on a date. If the date goes well, you might hit it off. To hit it off means to get along well with someone immediately. We hit it off straight away. If you really like them, you might say you have a crush on them. "I have a massive crush on the guy in the coffee shop." If the relationship progresses, you might become exclusive. This means you are only dating each other. If the relationship does not work out, you might break up. To break up means to end a romantic relationship. It is never easy. You might say, "We drifted apart." This means you slowly became less close. "We just drifted apart over time." Or, "We had a nasty breakup." This means the end was angry and unpleasant. Parenting and family are also big topics. If you have children, your routine revolves around them. You might have to drop them off at school. To drop off means to take someone somewhere and leave them there. I drop the kids off at 8 and pick them up later. I pick them up at 4. School runs are a common phrase. The school run is the journey of taking children to school. The school run was chaos this morning. You might also talk about balancing work and family. It is a juggling act. A juggling act is a situation where you are trying to manage many different tasks at the same time. Being a working parent is a juggling act. What about your extended family? You might visit your grandparents or have a family reunion. A reunion is a large gathering of family members who have not seen each other for a long time. We have a family reunion every summer. You might also talk about your in-laws. These are the relatives of your spouse. Sometimes people joke about their in-laws, but hopefully you get along. I get along great with my mother-in-law. To get along with someone means to have a friendly relationship with them. Now let us discuss hobbies and passions, because what we do in our free time defines a lot of who we are. We have mentioned reading and watching TV, but what about more active hobbies? Maybe you are into fitness. You might be a gym rat. This is a slang term for someone who spends a lot of time at the gym. I am a total gym rat. Or maybe you love the outdoors. You might go hiking on weekends. Hiking is walking in nature, usually on trails. It is a great way to blow off some steam. We mentioned this before, but to blow off steam means to get rid of stress or excess energy. I need to blow off some steam after work, so I am going for a run. Creative hobbies are also popular. You might be into photography. I am really into photography these days. Or painting. Or knitting. Some people collect things, like stamps or coins. It is their collection. If you love music, you might go to concerts. I love live music. There is nothing like the atmosphere of a concert. You might also play an instrument. I used to play the piano, but I am a bit rusty. To be rusty means you are not as good at something as you used to be because you haven't practiced. My French is a bit rusty. It is a very useful adjective. Let us focus on the language of recommendations. This happens all the time in casual conversation. Have you seen that new movie? Is it any good? If you liked it, you say, it is a must-see. You have to watch it. It is a real page-turner, if it is a book. Or it is a real tear-jerker. A tear-jerker is a movie or book that makes you cry. That movie was such a tear-jerker, I cried for hours. If you hated it, you might say it was a flop. Or it was a letdown. It didn't live up to the hype. The hype is the public excitement about something. The movie was overhyped. It was actually quite boring. We also talk about our aspirations and dreams. What do you want to achieve in life? You might say, my goal is to start my own business. Or, I dream of traveling the world. We use phrases like bucket list. This is a list of things you want to do before you die. Skydiving is on my bucket list, or it is on my to-do list. You might also talk about your 5-year plan. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? It is a common interview question, but also a question we ask ourselves. I want to be fluent in English in 5 years. That is a great goal. Now, I want to introduce some idioms related to effort and success. We often talk about giving something 100%. If you work hard, you give it your all. She gave it her all in the competition. If you do something with great energy and determination, you go the extra mile. Our boss always goes the extra mile to help us. It is a very positive trait. On the other hand, if you do not try hard enough, you might be cutting corners. To cut corners means to do something in the easiest, quickest, or cheapest way, often harming the quality. They cut corners on the building project so it is not safe, or you might be slacking off. This means you are not working as hard as you should. Stop slacking off and get back to work. Let us practice a conversation between two friends planning a trip. This is a very common scenario. One friend says, "We should go away somewhere for the weekend." The other replies, "That sounds like a great idea. Where do you fancy going?" To fancy means to want or desire. "I fancy a trip to the beach," or maybe the mountains. Let us look at some options. I will do some research. You can look at hotels. Let us touch base later. To touch base means to contact someone to update them or discuss something. Let us touch base tomorrow night. It is a professional phrase that has moved into casual English. Or perhaps you are planning a party. You need to organize the guest list. You need to send out invitations. These days, people often create a Facebook event. You need to sort out the food and drinks. We usually say, "Bring a bottle." If it is a house party, guests might bring a bottle of wine, or it is a potluck. A potluck is a meal where each guest brings a dish to share. We are having a potluck dinner on Saturday, so bring a dish. It is a fun way to share the cooking burden. I also want to talk about the language of advice. We often ask friends for advice on our daily problems. What should I do? You might say, "If I were you, I would talk to him." This is the conditional form used for giving advice. I would just ignore the rude comments. Or you could say, "You should bite the bullet." To bite the bullet means to force yourself to do something unpleasant or difficult that you have been avoiding. I just have to bite the bullet and tell him the truth. It implies getting it over with. Another piece of advice might be to sleep on it. If you have a difficult decision to make, sleep on it means to wait until the next day before deciding. I am not sure what to do. I will sleep on it and tell you tomorrow. We also have phrases for when things go wrong in social situations. Maybe you say something you regret. You put your foot in your mouth. To put your foot in your mouth means to say something embarrassing, tactless, or offensive by mistake. I really put my foot in my mouth when I asked her about her ex-husband. It is an awful feeling. Or maybe you accidentally insult someone. So you might say, "I stepped on his toes." This means you offended someone. I didn't mean to step on your toes with my suggestion. It is a metaphor for causing offense. Let us revisit the concept of time and how we perceive it. When we are having fun, time flies. As the saying goes, time flies when you are having fun. But when we are bored or waiting, time drags. The afternoon really dragged. I thought it would never end. We also talk about killing time. If you have free time before an appointment, you might kill time by browsing shops. I had an hour to kill before my train. Or we talk about wasting time. Don't waste your time on that video game. As we get older, our perception of routine changes. We might value stability more. When we are young, we want to party and stay up late. As we get older, we appreciate a quiet night in. I am getting too old for clubbing. I would rather stay home and read. This is a very common sentiment. It is part of the aging process. We might also worry about our health more. I need to watch my cholesterol, or I need to watch my sugar intake. To watch something means to be careful about it. Let us try a visualization exercise about a social gathering. Imagine you are at a dinner party. The room is buzzing. To buzz means to be full of activity and excitement. The room was buzzing with conversation. You are talking to a stranger. You need to break the ice. To break the ice means to start a conversation with someone you do not know. So you ask, "How do you know the host?" This is a standard icebreaker question. Then you find common ground. You both like traveling. You bond over this shared interest. By the end of the night, you have exchanged numbers. You made a new connection. This is the beauty of social interaction. Now, I want to focus on the language of travel specifically because even a routine includes occasional trips. Maybe you are going on a business trip. You need to pack your bags. You need to head to the airport. You need to check in. You might go through security. Then you wait at the gate. Finally, you board the plane. Once on the plane, you might have a stopover. A stopover is a short stop at an airport on the way to your final destination. I have a stopover in Dubai. When you arrive, you need to go through customs. You collect your luggage. Then you head to your hotel. You check in. If you are tired, you might take a nap. A nap is a short sleep during the day. While traveling, you might do some sightseeing. You visit famous landmarks. You take photos to capture the memories. You might try the local cuisine. The food is delicious. You might get a bit lost. You have to ask for directions. "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the train station?" Being able to ask for directions is a crucial skill. You might also need to exchange money. I need to find a currency exchange. Or, I need to withdraw some cash from an ATM. When you return from a trip, you might feel refreshed, or you might suffer from jet lag. Jet lag is the tiredness you feel after traveling across time zones. I am suffering from terrible jet lag, so I am going to bed early. It takes a few days to get back into your normal routine, to get back into the swing of things. This is another idiom. It means to get used to your normal routine again after a break. It will take me a few days to get back into the swing of things. I also want to talk about pets. Many of us have pets as part of our daily routine. You might have a dog. You have to walk the dog. I take my dog for a walk every morning. You have to feed them. If you have a cat, they are more independent. They might curl up on your lap. Pets provide companionship. They are great for stress relief. I talk to my dog all the time. It helps. We often treat our pets like family. They are our fur babies. It is a funny but loving term. Let us talk about the language of weather and seasons again, but in a more emotional context. The winter blues is a feeling of sadness during winter. I always get the winter blues in January. Conversely, spring fever is the feeling of excitement when spring arrives. I have spring fever. I want to be outside all day. The weather affects our mood profoundly. On a rainy day, I feel cozy. On a sunny day, I feel energetic. It is fascinating how connected we are to nature. Now think about your own routine again. Is there anything you would like to change? Maybe you want to get into shape. To get into shape means to become physically fit. I really need to get into shape for summer. Or maybe you want to learn a new skill. I want to learn how to code. Or I want to improve my cooking skills. Setting goals is important. It gives us a sense of direction. Let us practice one last time with a complex story. I am going to describe a day where everything went right, using many of the expressions we learned today. Yesterday was a fantastic day. I woke up feeling full of beans. That means very energetic. I got to work early and my boss praised me for a project I had been working on. I really felt like I was on cloud 9. At lunch, I caught up with an old friend and we spilled the tea about our other friends. We laughed so much. After work, I met my partner and we went to a new restaurant. The food was out of this world, meaning delicious. We didn't have to pay because my partner treated me. It was a wonderful gesture. I went to bed feeling grateful and content. It was one of those days that restores your faith in humanity. Did you catch all those idioms? Full of beans, on cloud nine, spilled the tea, out of this world treated me, restores your faith. Try to tell your own success story. Think of a day where you were happy, successful, or just relaxed. Use descriptive language. Use idioms. It will make your English come alive. Thank you so much for listening to this fourth part of our daily English routine series. We have covered social interactions, professional etiquette, romance, hobbies, travel, and so much more. Remember that learning English is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy the process. Do not be afraid to use these new phrases in your daily life. The more you use them, the more natural they will become. If you are enjoying English in advance, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. It helps us so much. You can also join our community on social media to practice with other learners. I am Jessica, wishing you a wonderful week full of interesting conversations and happy moments. Keep advancing your English. See you in the next episode.